Welcome back on this absolute glorious and amazing day. If it's not in front of you, then make it in your mind by your imagination of being by the water, being in nature, being wherever makes you happy, whatever floats your boat. The last two and final tears, reason, understanding why we have tears and why we cry is a little bit complex. Number 5, I will name it now as exchange. Huh? What does that mean? Exchange of tears. Which means there is, and I will explain. There's a reason why we cry, why we're upset about something, or why we're happy, but usually it's about being upset. But for whatever reason, conscious or subconscious, I'm so excited I remind myself of a story happened to me a few months ago when I was 7.5. I love that story. I use it all the time. I love that story. So consciously or subconsciously, we're embarrassed or we're uncomfortable, or as I said, it's sometimes unconscious. We don't know why, so we don't want to cry about it or talk to anyone. But our body is by number 10, and we can't close, we can't fake it, so we burst out crying. Our brain exchanges for another reason. I love this story. I think you're going to like it. That's the first example that comes to me, and I think I've used it over the last 10, 15 years, because this story, like many parts of my life, was shut down for 20, 30, 40 years. Everything is coming back to me because my body is so comfortable now. So I could handle a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff is coming back to me, which is beautiful. So a few months ago, I think it was less than 500 months ago, when I was 7.5 years old, my parents came to visit me in an overnight camp, where I was all alone, a little child, 7.5. I was homesick, like a healthy feeling of a child. I was very homesick. And it's not a contradiction, by the way, when children are unhappy at home, they could still be homesick. Because that's the only devil you know, so you become homesick, even if your home might not be the elite, the greatest, the warmest place, but you're still homesick. People are very confused because they hate their parents, they're upset, or they're uncomfortable, and they go, I don't understand why I was homesick. Because that was the nest. And we love our nest, and we love the caretakers, so regardless of what your childhood experience is, you will be homesick. Unless you actually have a father and mother physically beating you and abusing you and burning you and hitting you and scaring you, then you won't be homesick. Or maybe then you will, I don't know. I was homesick. My dad, may his soul rest on planet Earth, because he doesn't have to rest in peace because he's still alive, was brought up in the war, through the war in Russia. You know till today how Russians are so motivated and so encouraged to talk about their feelings, to talk about their emotions. So subconsciously, at the age of 7, I already knew to tell my parents, I'm homesick. I wanted to stay in camp, but I was still homesick. My body knew I can't do that. Now that I'm talking about it, again, I realized that my body knew that there will be rejection. So what did my brain do? It changed the crying. I started crying. I can't remember if I made it up on the spot after I cried or I made it up before I cried. So my father says, why are you crying? I don't want to go swimming in the lake. The lake is too cold. I don't like to go swimming in the lake. I'll never forget it. It's like yesterday. I would want to put my emotional nose to my child when they cry about the cold water in the lake. That was a beautiful exchange that I know I won't be rejected. The water in the lake is cold, like the lake behind me. Well, this lake is warmer because it doesn't freeze like in the Laurentians Mountains when the lake turns into 3 feet of ice or 2 feet of ice. Still cold even in July. So my parents told me, great. That's a beautiful lizard, but I'm not scared of you. So my parents told me, great, we'll talk to the head counselor by the name of Mutty Berger a great rabbi and a Chabad leader of Ottawa. May his soul rest in peace. Sadly passed away recently. And he was a lovely gentleman. I remember him from the age of 7. Such a lovely man. My parents came to him and they said, what can we do? This child. I remember I was so embarrassed, like this little nerd, he can't go swimming like the rest of the kids. There's a problem. He doesn't want to go swimming. The water's so cold. And I still remember, I still remember the smile on his face. I still remember his warmth, his understanding. And he says, great. So when they're swimming for his bunk, he doesn't have to go swimming, just gets into his bathing suit and let him go to the lake and sit there, and that's fine. And I remember my parents looking at me, says, is that okay? Yeah, okay. And then I had to sort of get all the courage to stop crying because they officially took care of my problem. That crying of this little 7-year-old was called an exchange. This is something I really want to dwell on. Join me next week, and I want to make a separate clip because this is what happens every single day with your children. And this is where children not only get rebuked, but sometimes even thrown out of the house as young teens because we exchange. We exchange all the time. We exchange emotions. We have to let it out, and we exchange it for another reason, which is not really the reason. Thanks for listening, and I hope this helped in any way to understand yourself, understand others, if it's your siblings, your own children, or your friends. All the very best. And always remember, you're greater than you think you are.